So here's the thing. A housing market is notoriously difficult thing to predict. But when you start to look at the local housing market in LA County, you pull the data and the local history, right? The boots on the ground experience, then you start to have some success looking into the future. And it's a long way to say I have all the 2025 details for you right here. Hey, and if you don't know me, my name's Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group, your LA real estate source and realtor here in Los Angeles County. And for this video, I'm going to tell you what I think you can expect in 2025 when it comes to the Los Angeles real estate market. So if you want to know if this is going to be a seller's market, a buyer's market, if foreclosures are going to be coming back, then this is a video that you need to be looking at. But before I tell you where we're actually headed, I got to give you some context, a little bit of backstory on kind of how we got to where we are. And I think you have to start with 2008 and 2009, the housing market crash, right? And I'm not going to get into all the details. We kind of already know what had transpired back then. But there's two things that came out of that as a result that kind of had a massive effect moving forward since that time. And the number one thing that came out was the fact that now you have a much more stringent requirements when it comes to lending, right? So because of that, the lending practices are much more strict to ensure that we're not going to go through what we went through before, where you had all those manipulative lending practices that created so many issues and caused people to default on the loans on their houses. So you don't have that anymore, right? So that's number one. The second huge impact that we had from that era has to do with the slowdown in new construction being built across not only the United States, which was a national issue with new construction, but also here in Los Angeles, because we just don't have a lot of new land to build upon. So what we're seeing are all these small infill projects, because now it's maybe 10 acres versus 100 or 200 acres where you can build a bunch of rows of homes. You can build a huge master plan community. We just don't have a lot of space left, right? Especially when you're talking about the city of Los Angeles or being central in Los Angeles County. You have to add all the state regulations on top of that, and it makes it incredibly difficult, risky, and expensive for investors and builders to build these developments. Now we're in a situation where we've had a very huge slowdown of new construction homes being built to the point where now it's nowhere near catching up with the amount that we actually need. And basically, from that time, we've had a strong seller's market where home values have gone up every year until we essentially got up to about 2022, where there was what felt like there was a lot of uncertainty. But what ended up happening is, instead of the market slowing down, instead of prices coming down, fewer people decided to sell, and the demand was there, skyrocketing home values that was taking place. So even though we're in that situation where the rates went up in 2022 and 2023, we really started to see rates go up, and the home values had already increased so much that this was majorly impactful for everyone around the county, right, that wanted to buy a home. So here we are today, right, where the highest home values that we've really ever seen. You're looking over basically almost 1.1 is your median sales price in Los Angeles, California. And right now we currently only have about 4,000 homes for sale in the entire San Fernando Valley. And across Los Angeles County, you have just under 12,000 homes for sale. Currently, right now, you're looking at 11,087. But really, to meet the demand, you really need about 20,000 homes for sale. So combine all this with the fact that 2024 is going to see fewer than 4 million homes sell nationwide, which is the first year that we've seen that since 1995. So in 1995, the U.S. had a population of 266 million people living in this country. Today, we have a population of 336 million people living in the United States. And that leads me to my first of four predictions for 2025. The first one is that I expect the housing market to ramp up from January to May of 2025. And it's not going to be like we've seen in recent years. It's going to be at a much stronger pace. This means more homes for sale and higher prices. And a lot of this has to do with the very last thing I talked about when it comes to the history of the housing market here in LA. And in the last one, especially the last 2 years, we've had so few people buying homes. Demand has basically been at the lowest level that it can be, more or less. Think about there were more homes being bought and sold in the 2008, 2009 housing market crash, really, than there were this year. So that means there are a lot of a tremendous amount of pent up demand from people that want to buy homes, but also people that want to sell their home, right? Maybe they need a bigger home because their family's expanding. Maybe their circumstances change where they need to move, but they feel stuck the last couple of years, maybe due to the interest rates, right? And so they can't make that move right now. So if you would have asked me a couple of months ago what I expect to happen in 2025, well, I thought just from January 1st, we'd see this crazy demand that was going to last throughout the course of the year and just continue to pick up and build. But what I'm thinking now, because of where the rates are kind of where we are right now, they're almost at 7%, and the rates haven't really started to come down. And so even though they dropped down to about 6% in September of 2024, they're all the way back up to around 7%. And so because of that, we really thought that the rates were going to be coming down. And now what you're kind of starting to see as the rates have gone back up, steadily ramp up from from the beginning of the year, the peak of the summer selling season, with a lot of times we see the amount of homes for sale, the amount of demand out there peaking around May to June. So I really think that's what we're going to see. It's also important to know that I think it's going to be a fairly healthy combination of both buyers and sellers. So I don't see home values like a runaway off ramp that's just going to be going super crazy. But I do think we're going to continue to see that steady increase. We're going to see more homes, more options for sale. And this is the most important, that the most competitive homes, well, those are the big ones that are going to be the most competitive if you're a buyer. So as a potential buyer, just expect that you're going to be in a very competitive market when it comes to competitive homes, right? That are in really good condition. So you need to be really make sure you're aware of that. And then also if you're a buyer, you need to make sure that you have more options, right? But you're going to have to compete for more homes that you really like. And my second prediction for 2025, and to be honest, this really isn't even much of a prediction because we're starting to see it happen already. And that is that there's not going to be any more new construction single family homes from here on forward. And let me give you some perspective and explain that to you, right? So, as of right now, you have about the 10,000 new construction homes that are being built on an annual basis here in Los Angeles County. And around 95% of those are going to be formed of some type of attached property, right? Maybe it's an ADU, a condo, a townhouse, right? And so that only leaves 5% for single family homes, right? That are coming either again as condos or townhomes, apartment complexes that are just for rent, not even for sale, right? And so even you're seeing a majority of these ADUs being built across neighborhoods throughout Los Angeles. Now, sure, you're always going to be able to find some new construction homes, single family homes, if you want to go farther out. Especially the larger master plan communities these days are in Lancaster, Palmdale, Valencia, Castaic, right here in Los Angeles County. And then, if you start going into the Inland Empire, right, you have to go into, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, Riverside. Like this is where all the new construction is being built right now in the surrounding areas, right? So that's number one. So you still, have some land for these throughout the county. And a lot of the times they're are luxury 2 million plus single family homes that we've actually featured here on our channel being built, right? But a lot of them, maybe they're 10 to 14 home developments. So we're talking really small infill projects. So moving forward, just expect that if you want new construction, then guess what? You know what? You're probably going to have to be paying over that $2 million price tag moving forward. But maybe you don't have $2 million, or you want to spend something to be closer here in Los Angeles County, then you're going to be needing to look at older homes. And I get this request all the time. People want new construction homes. I totally get the desire. But if you want the lifestyle living centrally here in Los Angeles County, then you're going to need to be looking at a house that was probably built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s. And a lot of those homes that were built over the course of the last 60, 70, 80 years, maybe even 90 years ago, a lot of them, they have been completely redone from top to bottom. This is why flippers are really common here in Los Angeles. There's a lot of flipped homes or a lot of renovated homes because there are fewer new construction homes, right? This isn't like Arizona or Texas where majority of the homes these days are newer construction homes that you would be able to choose from, right? So, if you want to feel like you're moving into a newer home, you got to be looking at these older homes that have been rehabbed and redesigned. Okay, so prediction number 3 is that rate drops are going to happen much slower than expected, right? So if there's one thing that we can plan from this point moving forward, is that the experts, when it comes to the interest rates, have been completely wrong over the last couple of years, right? Here we are in 2024. They were supposed to actually cut the Fed rate 7 rate drops, right? They were supposed to have 7 rate drops, but only 2 reductions in Fed funds rates. And during that time, we've actually seen mortgage rates jump up by about a full percent, which is crazy, right? And why do we expect that to happen? One reason is because of who won the presidential election, Donald Trump. Now, it doesn't matter what you actually think of the president-elect. The market got confidence in the economy when Trump was elected to become president. So a strong economy means there's no need to lower rates to stimulate the economy. It's kind of a catch-22. So if we really want to lower mortgage rates, right? If you want to lower the mortgage rates, we want the Fed funds rate to really drop at a significant level. We need a slower economy, right? So we need there to be fewer jobs. You need people to be losing their jobs, which is very counterproductive, right, to what we all want, which is a strong economy and lots of opportunities out there. So we'll see what happens when it comes to rates in 2025. But certainly, it's extremely likely that we're going to see rates in the 5s this upcoming year. And it's extremely likely, like, unless something crazy happens with the economy and the Fed really needs to stimulate the economy, but it's unlikely based on what we're seeing, right? And so the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, has been very clear that they're keeping a close eye on all the economic releases for signs of slowing. They're going to keep looking at the data. They're going to keep going to look every single time we see new jobs data. They're going to be looking at it, economic data, to dictate what they're going to do to move forward. And that they've been very clear on this from the last couple of years. That's what we can expect moving forward. And finally, prediction number 4 is a simple unknown of what's going to happen with this new presidency. So 2 big things that can come to mind is, number 1, the DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency. Let's see how impactful they're going to be. But if there's going to be a lot of job growth that we saw in 2024, a lot of it had to do with federal government jobs. So if that starts to reverse, if they really have an impact, I mean, who knows if they'll be able to make that happen without congressional approval. We're not going to get into all of that, but there's a lot of unknown when it comes to that, right? And also, you got to take into effect, well, what type of effect are the tariffs that Trump is pushing for? How is that going to affect the local economy, right? Because is that going to make things more expensive? If it makes things more expensive, right, then that's going to be really problematic for people to be able to afford loans and being able to buy a property, right? So I think obviously that's going to affect the nationwide economy and then our local economy here in Los Angeles too, right? So although I'm extremely confident in the predictions that I have given here today, if you look back at my channel over the last 4 or 5 years, I've actually gotten it right a heck of a lot more than I've gotten it wrong. And I'm confident of what we're seeing moving forward. But the trajectory of where we're heading on a national and global scale, I think it just adds enough unknown that makes it impossible to truly calculate what's going to happen. So here's my advice on whether you are looking to buy, sell, or invest here in 2025. And really, it really comes down to sticking with the fundamentals. Can you afford the monthly payment? And are you planning to live there at least 3 years before selling your home? Ideally, you want to plan to live there at least 5 years, but I would say at least 3 years is a safe amount of time to be able to own a house and be able to sell it for a profit. I think prices are going to go up and values are going to go up, but there's a lot that you have to consider with closing costs, both buying and selling, realtor commissions. There are all sorts of things that pop up. So stick to the fundamentals. Can you afford your house payment? I can maybe even a little bit uncomfortable with the payment, but just know that you're able to make it work. That's going to be the thing. And that final determination on whether the financing and the budget is going to work is really up to you. So you have to be comfortable with what your monthly mortgage payment is going to be and understand that the only reason affordability might come down or affordability might go up, I guess, really, more affordable homes as if rates come down, because it's extremely likely at this point, the next 1 or 2 years, we're going to see home values decrease at any significant level. If you're considering selling your home, whether in Los Angeles or somewhere else, but you're uncomfortable leaving that 2.5, 3, or even 3.5, 4% interest rates, ask yourself this, that if the rates are still above 6% in 3 to 5 years, what are you going to do? Right. So I'm sure that the rates will eventually be coming down. I'm very confident, but I don't think anybody anticipates we're going to be seeing a rate below 5% in the next, especially 2025 and next year or so, but maybe not even in 2026. And I think pretty much across the board, everyone agrees that 3% rates are a thing of the past. And if rates are the same, really, if that's your decision on whether or not to sell, you know what? You might be in the same boat in a couple of years, right? Where the prices are up even further, right? If you want to buy something else, but the interest rates are still up too, right? So it may make more sense to get off the boat, get off the fence now and make that decision now. So, right. So you have to kind of decide where you are at, what your financial temperature is going to be, right? So if your decision on whether or not is going to sell is going to be the same in a couple of years, then maybe it'd be worth considering selling now, right? And again, on the buying side, you need to make sure that you're comfortable with that budget, or maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but you're confident you can make that monthly payment, right? Because obviously things change and sometimes you have changes in your lifestyle and things just change. Hey, look, if you want to talk to someone about it, kind of ask a lot of questions to use our resources. Here's the QR code. Set up a time with us online. Have a virtual appointment with us. You can always call me at 818-396-3311. That's 818-396-3311. We're happy to talk you through the process and help you figure out whether or not it makes sense to buy or sell at this moment in time. Or maybe it makes sense to wait a little bit, right? And who knows what a little bit means? Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, if that's what it takes. But everyone's situation's different. Their goals, their objectives are different, right? So you have to consider all of that when you're deciding to move forward. And I'm regularly putting out analysis of the market so you know exactly what's going on right here with some boots on the ground approach. So if you want more of this, make sure you subscribe again to our channel. You like this video. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. I'm Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group, and we'll see you on the next one.